Hey everyone, chalk this up for a win for individual rights and liberty in Ontario. As a consequence, as a result of Doug Ford and the PC party winning the most recent provincial election in Ontario, one of his promises that he put out there, and one of the main reasons I suspect why he did gain such popularity and win that political race, it was a political position and a principle deeply held by Doug Ford and those who support him that was actually at the very heart, at the very core of why the Ontario Liberals were put at the back of the bus and relegated to non-party status. And Doug Ford and his PC party not only won the Ontario elections, but with a substantial majority. This is in reference to the Ontario sex ed curriculum. As we all know, and I'll post a link to this stuff in the description of this video, so you can't suggest or pretend that I'm lying or I'm trying to trick you or that I'm trying to create some kind of sensationalized false narrative. You'll see that this is a reality. But the very man that implemented this new reinvention of the sex ed curriculum in Ontario, yeah, he's a convicted pedophile. A man that fucking had sexual relations with his own children. This is the guy that created and invented the sex ed curriculum. And you know, it's not just about the man. I'm about ideas. So as much as I'll insult the man for his own personal fucking failures and immorality, I'll even point out and hold to an even higher regard in the kind of fucking shit that he put forth and presented in his sex ed curriculum, in the way he implemented and way he tried to force and thrust it upon the Ontario people. Listen, let me just tell you first and foremost, the education system in Canada, that was predominantly meant, well, we all know now that it's basically all about indoctrinating the youth, but predominantly the narrative that they tried to tell you, it was about to teach them academics, right? Well, what the fuck does sex ed have anything to do with academics? It doesn't have nothing to do with academics. In sex ed, you know, education regarding sex, that's something that belongs predominantly in the family structure. In not just the household and the family structure, but it should be, the onus should be on a parent, right? If you're going to have kids, you should have a priority over teaching your children what you want them to learn than some complete stranger, some bureaucrat, some central planning hack, right? I mean, those are your kids. Now, of course, I expect the people in your own family and your own community to hold you to a fairly high standard when it comes to that shit, because we all know that certain individuals might be just as immoral as some of these individuals within government. So once again, not giving anyone any free passes here, folks, but we do live in the age of information. So any pretense or any suggestion that kids just won't learn anything if it's not taught them in fucking public education centers, that's complete bullshit. All this information is out there and it's readily available and it's literally at your fingertips. And it's not like kids don't have access to information at their fingertips. Headline, CBC News, under the Toronto section. Ontario going back to old sex ed curriculum in fall, PCs say. Opposition parties decry move they say won't help province's youth. Ontario's education minister says the sex ed curriculum taught to children in the coming school year will be an older version, not the controversial updated program brought in by the previous government. Lisa Thompson said Wednesday, ministry staff are working to inform school boards of the decision to revert to the curriculum that was in place before 2015. Thompson said the ministry will be moving quickly to consult parents on how to update the curriculum, and details on that process will be coming soon. Actually, before I get too far into this, when they're talking about consulting parents, I love the fucking narrative that the Liberals put out there. Oh yeah, we consulted. And it turned out that they consulted 4,000 parents, which represents one parent for every school in Ontario. One fucking parent. Yeah, oh yeah, that's a good fucking concept as far as actually giving, you know, consultation and taking feedback from the Ontario population, right? When you take one person out of thousands and their opinion should represent everyone else? Really? Really? That's not even representative of what you would perceive as democracy, which I'm not saying I'm a fan of, but that's nowhere near representative of the majority, right? One person out of thousands? No, that's full-on dictatorship, folks. Premier Doug Ford promised to repeal and replace the controversial sex ed curriculum when he ran for the Progressive Conservative leadership and repeated the pledge during the spring election. The new curriculum sparked controversy, particularly among social conservatives when the Liberal government introduced it. It was the first time the curriculum had been updated since 1998 and included warnings about online bullying and sexting, but protesters zeroed in on discussions of same-sex marriage, gender identity, and masturbation. Opposition calls plan disappointing. The PC party's plan sparked immediate reaction. Tanya Granick Allen, who ran unsuccessfully against Ford for the PC leadership on a platform focused on getting rid of the new sex ed curriculum, tweeted simply, "Great work." Granick Allen had hoped to run as an MPP but was dumped by the PC party over comments she'd made in the past that Ford called irresponsible. NDP leader Andrea Horwath said she finds the decision disappointing, adding the curriculum needed to be updated to cover a range of topics facing youth today. Instead, she said the government is taking an approach that is not the right direction for the kids in this province. Green Party leader Mike Schreiner accused Ford's government of declaring war on modern life by going back to a curriculum that was written in the early days of the internet. Schreiner said the move amounts to taking away key tools from teachers and called it inappropriate. Brittany Smith of the advocacy group Lead Now, which petitioned to keep the revised curriculum, called Ford's move ideologically driven and pure politics. He's really making this decision to appease the religious right and far-right factions of his base who helped him get elected, Smith told CBC Toronto. This is a cynical political decision of his, and children across Ontario are being made to pay the price. Listen, who's this again? Listen, Brittany Smith and all you fucking detractors out there. Hey, watch. See this thing over here? Watch. This is the internet. We all have access to it, and don't pretend otherwise. So, you know, what allowing freedom of choice is what Doug Ford and the PC party is doing, is allowing parents the freedom to choose what their kids are being taught when it comes to sex ed, right? That's what it's come down to, is allowing people and parents some freedom. Your top-down approach and thinking it has to, this one-size-fits-all approach, you know, that collectivism approach, that authoritarian approach, no, it doesn't work. But you know what? Don't fucking pretend out there that by Doug Ford doing this, it's by appealing to the right wingers or those who identify as religious, that's somehow going to negate or deny you or your ilk or people like you the ability to teach and educate your children. Like I said, we live in the age of information, folks, and it's all at your fingertips and at your disposal instantaneously, just like that. Watch how fast a page loads when you have high-speed internet in a place like Ontario. In a place like Toronto, in a place like the GTA, you'll find out your kids will be okay. You want to teach them about fucking LGBT bullshit? You want to teach them about identity politics? It's all out there. You can still do that. The difference is you can't force or thrust that on everyone else. That's really what the left, these leftists, these authoritarian hacks, that's what they're really pissed off about, is they don't get to indoctrinate your kids in the way they do their own. They want that, like I say, they want that one size fits all. They want that blanket that they can throw over top of us all. In reality, all it does is suffocate and smother us, all right? Allow freedom to flourish and stop fucking bickering, whining, and moaning about the fact that Doug Ford has said, hey, listen, you know, we're not going to do it that way. We're not going to do it that way. Yeah, we respect, you know, some particular segments of sex ed curriculum. Even myself, listen, I'm not completely against getting some, like, the anatomy thing, but, you know, age appropriate and done in a manner that's completely politically neutral. We're all on board for that. You never heard anyone complaining prior, you know, in the past when we were teaching kids about sex ed curriculum. Hey, even when I was a kid, I mean, you know, I'm 40 years old. When I went to school at those ages, those young ages, it was a long time ago in the 80s. But you know what? I was cool, and my parents were cool with teaching a few little fundamental things, right? As far as anatomy, as long as it seemed like it was academically driven. But when it's ideologically driven, yeah, of course we're against it. I guess, of course, a lot of us are against it. And for those who have disdain or hatred or loathe those who are against their political opportunism, as far as trying to subjugate kids now to these fucking weird ideologies and the fact that there's what, no genders no more? Yeah, no. You're politicizing what you would deem sex ed to the point where, of course, we're pushing back. Of course, a lot of people are pushing back, and you're just pissed off that you're losing the battle. Well, do better. That's my suggestion. Don't hate on us just because we don't want to listen to kind of bullshit rhetoric or political propaganda that those of you and your ilk want to espouse. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.